Welcome to the Nightfall Historian. Please like, subscribe, and listen peacefully. Tonight, we are not visiting a famous city. We are not witnessing an important event. We are not meeting anyone whose name will be remembered. Instead, we are spending time in a small, unremarkable settlement, somewhere in the early 18th century. The exact location is not important. What matters is that life here is slow, very slow. The settlement sits beside a narrow road that curves gently through farmland. The road is not paved. It is made of packed earth, flattened by years of footsteps, wagon wheels, and animal hooves. In dry weather, the road is dusty. In wet weather, it is muddy. Most days, it is simply there. A few wooden buildings line the road. They are spaced unevenly, built wherever it seemed convenient at the time. Some lean slightly to one side, others appear straighter, though none could be described as precise. Roofs are made of thatch or rough shingles. Walls are thick enough to keep out the wind, but thin enough that sounds travel easily. In the early morning, the town wakes gradually. There is no bell to announce the day, no clock tower. People rise when the light enters their windows. A man steps outside his house and stretches his arms slowly. He does not rush. He has been doing this every morning for many years, and there is no reason to change now. He looks at the sky. The weather appears calm. That is good enough. Nearby, a woman opens a wooden door and steps into the cool air. She carries a bucket, which she will soon fill with water. The bucket is heavy, and she adjusts her grip carefully. She has learned, over time, how to balance the weight so it does not strain her arms too much. The sound of chickens can be heard. They scratch at the ground, searching for food. They do this every day. They will do it tomorrow as well. Children begin to emerge from houses, moving slowly, rubbing their eyes, their hair untidy from sleep. They do not speak much at this hour. There is nothing urgent to say. Breakfast is simple. Bread, if there is bread. Porridge, if there is grain. Sometimes nothing more than a drink of water. No one complains. Complaining would change nothing. After eating, the day continues in its familiar pattern. Work begins. Not dramatic work, not important work, just the kind of work that must be done to keep life moving forward. A man repairs a fence. He replaces one broken post, then another. He measures carefully, though his measurements are not exact. Experience has taught him what looks right. Nearby, another man sharpens a tool. He moves the blade slowly against the stone, again and again. The sound is soft and repetitive. Inside one of the houses, a woman sits near a window, mending a piece of clothing. The fabric is worn. It has been repaired before. She turns it over in her hands, deciding where to place the next stitch. She is in no hurry. Hurrying would only lead to mistakes. Outside, time moves gently. Clouds pass slowly overhead. The road remains mostly empty. Occasionally, someone walks past, nodding politely, exchanging no more than a few quiet words. As the afternoon approaches, the pace does not change. There is no clear division between morning and afternoon here, only light, and then slightly less light. Work continues until it no longer makes sense to continue. When shadows grow longer, people begin to return indoors. Fires are lit again. Not large fires, just enough. Cooking begins. The smell of simple food drifts through the air. Stew bubbling quietly, bread warming near the fire. Evening is not a time for excitement. It is a time for rest. People sit. They talk softly. Sometimes they say nothing at all. Candles are lit carefully. Each one is used sparingly. When the candle burns low, it is extinguished without ceremony. Night settles over the settlement. The road disappears into darkness. The fields grow quiet. Inside the houses, beds are prepared. Most are simple wooden frames. Some are nothing more than piles of straw. Blankets are heavy. They smell faintly of smoke and use. People lie down. They adjust their position. They breathe. Sleep comes slowly, but it comes. Outside, the world remains, unchanging, waiting for morning. And this is how life passes here, day after day, week after week, year after year. Nothing remarkable, nothing urgent, only time, moving gently forward. In the next part, we will quietly observe a long, uneventful winter and how the people endure it, without drama, without complaint, and without much thought at all. For now, there is nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to remember, only rest. A very quiet continuation of an ordinary past. The morning arrives again, not suddenly, not loudly, it simply arrives. A thin fog rests over the same village as before. The same road remains where it was yesterday. The same houses stand quietly, without change. A man opens a wooden door. He does not hurry. He does not look around. He simply opens the door as he has many times before. A woman steps outside and holds a bucket. She stands still for a moment. Nothing requires her immediate attention. The air is cool. It always is at this hour. A child stands near the house. The child watches the road. The road does not change. The villagers begin their slow movement, one by one, never together. A man walks down the dirt path. His steps are even. They make almost no sound. Another villager passes him. Neither of them speaks. They do not need to. In the fields, work begins, but slowly, very slowly. A farmer bends down and pulls at the soil. He does this repeatedly. He will do it again tomorrow. A woman folds cloth inside a small home. She folds it the same way each time. The cloth ends up where it always does. Wood is chopped, not many pieces, just enough. The axe rests against a log. It waits. Time continues, quietly. By afternoon, the sun sits higher. No one reacts to it. Some villagers sit, some stand. Most simply wait. A man leans against a fence. The fence does not move. Neither does the man. Shadows stretch slowly across the road. They stretch without purpose. Later, the fire is lit again. It burns calmly. Food is served. It is simple. It tastes like yesterday. The family eats. They eat slowly. No one speaks. A candle burns low. Its flame flickers gently. It does not hurry. Eventually, the candle is blown out. Darkness returns. Doors are closed. Blankets are adjusted. The village rests. Nothing has changed. Nothing needed to. And as sleep settles over the village once more, the quiet prepares itself to begin again. The night ends, quietly. No one marks the moment. No sound announces it. Light appears again, soft, unimportant. A rooster stands still. It does not crow yet. It waits. A window remains closed. Inside, someone turns slightly, then becomes still again. Eventually, a door opens, not wide, just enough. A man steps outside. He looks at the sky. The sky looks the same. He breathes in, then out. Nothing changes. The path outside the house holds no footprints from yesterday. They have faded. Another villager walks slowly toward the well. The bucket touches the ground. The rope hangs loosely. Water arises, silently. The bucket is lifted, carefully. Nearby, a woman sweeps the ground. The dust settles back where it was. A child sits on a low step. The child does not move. Time passes anyway. Morning continues, without urgency. The market opens. Only a few people arrive. They stand. They wait. Goods are placed on wooden tables. They are arranged neatly. They remain untouched. A man adjusts his coat, then stands still again. Someone coughs. Once. No one reacts. The sun moves slowly. No one follows it. At midday, the village grows quieter, if that is possible. Some doors close. Others remain open. Inside a house, a chair is moved slightly, then returned to its place. Outside, a dog lies down. It does not sleep yet. The afternoon stretches longer than expected, but no one notices. Later, food is prepared again, in the same way, at the same time. Bowls are placed on the table. Hands reach for them slowly. Eating happens, then stops. Night returns, as it always does. Lamps are lit, then extinguished. The village settles. Once more. Nothing stands out. Nothing is remembered. And the quiet remains, ready to repeat itself again. Tonight, nothing important happens. The village remains exactly as it was yesterday. The houses stand in the same places. The doors stay closed. The roads do not change. No one is in a hurry. No one is waiting for anything. The night air rests gently on the rooftops, doing very little. A soft breeze moves, then stops as if it forgets its purpose. Long ago, villages like this existed everywhere. They were built slowly. They were used slowly. They aged slowly. Most days were quiet. Most nights were even quieter. Inside one house, a table sits near a wall. It has been there for years. Nothing on the table needs attention. The chair beside it remains empty. This is how time passed for most people in history, not through great events, but through ordinary evenings that felt exactly like this one. The road outside remains empty. No footsteps approach. No carts arrive. No voices interrupt the silence. The village has seen many nights. It does not react to this one. In the distance, the sky slowly becomes lighter, not because something important is happening, but simply because time continues. Before sunrise, everything is still the same. The buildings do not move. The ground does not respond. The air stays calm. This sameness was comforting. It required no decisions. It asked nothing of anyone. Most of history passed this way. Quiet, unremarkable, unrecorded. Nothing here needs remembering, and nothing here needs to change. The village waits, without knowing it is waiting. Another ordinary day will arrive soon, and it will be just as calm. For now, there is only rest, only stillness, only sleep. Nothing changes during the night. The village remains quiet as it always does. The walls stay upright. The paths remain empty. There is no reason for movement. There is no reason for sound. Somewhere, a wooden door rests against its frame. It does not open. It does not close. It simply remains where it is. Centuries ago, places like this existed without noticing themselves. People lived here without urgency. They woke, worked a little, and rested again. The hours passed without being measured. No one counted them. No one rushed them forward. A lamp inside one house has already gone out. No one noticed when it happened. Darkness arrived slowly, then stayed. Outside, the ground feels cool and unchanged. It has supported the village for generations. It will continue to do so without effort. Nothing new arrives. Nothing leaves. History is often imagined as loud, but most of it was quiet like this, still, uneventful. A distant wind moves briefly, then stops. It does not disturb anything. It does not need to. The village continues resting, not asleep, not awake, just existing. Soon morning will come. It will not announce itself. It will simply appear as mornings always do. The village will look the same. The silence will remain. There is nothing to prepare for. There is nothing to remember. Everything is exactly as it should be. And so the night continues, slowly, calmly, without end. Time moves without being noticed. The village does not react to it. Buildings remain still. Paths remain empty. A stone bench sits near the edge of the square. It has been there for a long time. No one remembers when it was placed there. No one needs to. The air feels unchanged. Not warm, not cold, just present. Long ago, someone might have walked here slowly. They did not hurry. There was nowhere important to go. Footsteps were soft then as they would be now. But tonight, there are no footsteps at all. A window reflects the darkness. Nothing looks back. History does not always move forward. Sometimes it simply pauses. This is one of those moments. The village remains in its place. It does not drift. It does not shift. Even the wind seems to rest. It passes once, very lightly, then decides it is unnecessary. Somewhere, wood creaks gently as it cools. The sound fades before it can be noticed. Nothing requires attention. Nothing demands thought. The night stretches comfortably. It does not rush toward morning. It allows the dark to remain. If someone were watching, they would see nothing worth reporting, and that is exactly how it should be. The village continues to exist quietly, without purpose, without interruption. Time continues, but very slowly. Nothing announces the next moment. It arrives quietly, like all the moments before it. A narrow road curves gently beyond the village. It is made of packed earth and small stones. No wheels pass over it tonight. No feet disturb it. The road simply remains. Grass grows along its edges. Some of it bends, some of it does not. There is no reason. A wooden fence runs beside the road. Each post is placed evenly. None of them lean far enough to matter. The fence does not remember being built. It does not anticipate repair. The night rests on everything evenly. No shadows seem deeper than the others. Somewhere far away, water moves slowly. Not enough to be seen, only enough to be assumed. This is how most days have passed, quietly, without record. The field waits, the stone waits, the air waits, and eventually, so does the story. The lanterns of forgotten isles. The sun had dipped beneath the horizon, painting the sky with soft hues of lavender and rose. The historian walked along the crumbling stone path of an ancient port town, now quiet save for the gentle whisper of waves against the docks. Each house, with its wooden shutters slightly ajar, seemed to breathe stories into the twilight. He remembered the tales of the forgotten isles, islands that appeared only to those who wandered with curiosity, and only at night. According to old maps, they were home to lanterns that glimmered like fireflies trapped in glass. These lanterns were said to hold the memories of sailors long lost at sea, moments of joy, fear, longing, and homecoming, preserved in glowing light. Tonight, the historian would finally see them. A narrow boat awaited at the edge of the harbor, gently rocking as if inviting him aboard. With each stroke of the oar, the mist thickened, wrapping the world in a soft gray blanket. Shapes emerged from the fog, tiny islands with cliffs that shimmered silver under the moonlight. And there, scattered across the bays and coves, flickered hundreds of tiny lanterns, drifting slowly, humming softly with memory. He stepped on to the first island, feeling the mossy stones beneath his feet, the salt-kissed air in his lungs. Each lantern he touched told a story: a child laughing aboard a ship, a fisherman returning with his first catch, lovers waving goodbye at a foggy dock. Their voices were faint, like whispers from a dream. Hours passed without him noticing. Time itself seemed to pause. The historian found a small alcove where a massive lantern floated in the still water, glowing brighter than all the others. As he gazed into it, he saw a memory not his own. A young sailor writing a letter to a mother he would never see again, his ink smudged by tears and sea spray. The historian felt a gentle ache, a connection across centuries. Eventually, the lanterns began to fade with the approach of dawn. The mist thinned, and the forgotten isles vanished into the morning haze, leaving only the gentle ripple of water and a faint glimmer in the distance. The historian rowed back to the harbor, carrying with him a quiet sense of reverence and the knowledge that some stories, even when forgotten, could still illuminate the heart. And as he lay down to rest, he imagined the lanterns still drifting, keeping the memories safe, glowing softly in the darkness, waiting for the next curious wanderer to find them. The whispering library of endless night. The night had fallen quietly over the port town, now resting under a soft veil of moonlight. The historian, still carrying memories of the floating lanterns, wandered along a narrow cobblestone street, guided only by a single lantern swinging gently in his hand. The air was cool, scented faintly from salt from the sea and the faint aroma of old wood and paper. Ahead, an archway appeared where no archway had stood before. Its stones glowed faintly, etched with tiny symbols that pulsed like slow, calm heartbeats. Beyond it lay a library unlike any he had ever seen. Towering shelves spiraled into darkness, and the books seemed to float in the air as though held by invisible threads. Whispered words drifted gently around him, soft and unintelligible, yet comforting, like the hum of a lullaby. He stepped inside. Each step echoed softly, blending with the whispers. On a high shelf, a book opened on its own, pages fluttering as if beckoning him closer. He approached and saw it contained stories not written by human hands, but by moments themselves. The laughter of children who had never met, the quiet sighs of old sailors under starlit skies, the gentle hum of forgotten songs drifting through centuries. Curiosity guided his fingers, and as he touched a page, a story unfolded in midair. A child rocking a small wooden boat on a quiet river, the water reflecting every star above. The historian could almost hear the soft splash of the oar, feel the warmth of the child's tiny hands, and sense the delicate rhythm of the night itself. He realized this library collected memories from everywhere: ships, islands, towns, and hearts. Hours passed unnoticed. Time here was fluid, like ink spreading across parchment. Lanterns drifted between shelves carrying snippets of forgotten tales, and the historian walked slowly among them, reading the silent echoes of lives long past. Sometimes a memory would step closer, like a faint silhouette, brushing the edge of his sleeve before floating back into the shelves. Eventually, a large open window appeared at the far end of the library, showing the first pale light of dawn. Outside, the sea sparkled faintly, carrying away the last whispers of night. The historian understood that some stories were meant only to be found at night, and some memories only revealed under the quiet gaze of a lantern's glow. He left the library as the sun rose, carrying with him a soft, lingering hum of whispers within him. The streets were quiet, as if the town itself slept in gentle rhythm. And as he lay down to rest, he imagined the library still existing, collecting stories in the folds of the night, waiting for the next wanderer who would hear the gentle whispers and follow them into the endless night. The Clockmaker's Island. Long after the first light of dawn had settled over the harbor, the historian found himself drifting in a small boat once more, gliding across the silver-glimmering sea. The air was crisp, carrying the soft scent of salt and flowers from distant islands. As the mist parted, he saw the island rise gently from the waves. Its shore was lined with weathered wooden docks, and beyond them, towers of curious clockwork structures spiraled into the sky. Some were small, like cottages, with tiny gears turning on their rooftops. Others were massive, rising like cathedral spires, with their pendulums swinging in perfect rhythm, echoing softly across the quiet island. Stepping onto the sand, the historian noticed that time here felt different. The waves rolled in slowly, yet their reflections shimmered with the speed of distant clouds. The wind whispered secrets of hours and minutes, carried in the metallic clicks and soft whirs of the clockwork towers. Inside one of the towers, he found rooms filled with tiny clocks, each counting moments of people he had never met. A child discovering the first snow, a baker kneading dough at midnight, a sailor repairing his ship by lantern light. The clocks didn't just measure time, they captured the essence of memory, the delicate heartbeat of everyday life, preserved in endless ticking. Curiously, the historian touched a pendulum swinging above a grand clock. Instantly, he was surrounded by faint echoes of laughter, soft conversations, and the quiet hush of nightfalls from countless lives. Each tick was a heartbeat, each chime a sigh. He realized that this island existed to remind the world that even the smallest moments, the quietest seconds, could hold stories as deep and meaningful as any grand adventure. As night fell over the clockmaker's island, the historian sat on a bench beside a gentle fountain of molten brass, listening to the symphony of ticking clocks. The stars reflected in the glass faces of the timepieces, and the island seemed to breathe softly, in rhythm with the eternal tick of every clock. Eventually, he drifted back toward his boat, carrying with him a quiet comfort that time itself was a storyteller, and that every second, no matter how small, could illuminate the heart if one simply paused to notice it. The Garden of Eternal Mists. After leaving the clockmaker's island behind, the historian sailed farther into the morning mist, guided only by the soft sound of waves and a whispering wind. The sea shimmered like silver glass, and small birds circled overhead, their calls distant and calming. Through the fog, he glimpsed a new island rising from the water, a place where the air itself seemed heavy with quiet magic. The Garden of Eternal Mists unfolded before him, with soft, rolling hills covered in delicate flowers that glowed faintly in shades of blue and lavender. Mist clung to the ground like silk, swirling gently around the roots of tall, slender trees. As he stepped onto the soft, mossy path, tiny creatures peeked from behind flowers, foxes with fur that sparkled like starlight, rabbits with eyes reflecting the moon, and birds whose wings shimmered with soft rainbow hues. Everything moved slowly, as if the garden itself had slowed time to allow every detail to be noticed, every scent to be inhaled. In the center of the garden, a crystal-clear pond mirrored the mist and sky above. The historian knelt by the water and watched faint, glowing images appear on its surface, children laughing in meadows, couples sharing quiet moments, old sailors resting on distant docks, lanterns drifting through the night. The pond was not water alone. It held the memory of the world, gently reflecting lives that were small and fleeting, yet infinitely precious. Hours passed in quiet wonder. The historian walked through the garden, feeling the soft moss under his feet, breathing in the gentle fragrance of lavender and dew and listening to the faint hum of the mists. Each step seemed to echo with stories of serenity, stories meant only to be discovered in the hush of dawn or the quiet of a long night. As twilight approached, the mist thickened once again, enveloping the garden in silver-gray light. Lanterns shaped like flowers floated up gently from the pond, rising into the evening sky, carrying the memories of the day with them. The historian stepped back to his boat, leaving the garden peaceful and undisturbed, carrying with him the quiet knowledge that beauty and magic exist in every hidden corner of the world, waiting only for someone patient enough to find them. The Lighthouse of Whispering Waves. The historian's boat drifted slowly under a silver moon, the gentle waves carrying him toward a distant, lonely lighthouse perched on a jagged cliff. The sound of the sea was soft and constant, a rhythm that seemed to match his own heartbeat. He had heard stories of this lighthouse, that it guided more than ships. It guided memories, whispers of lives long gone, and quiet thoughts that had nowhere else to go. As he approached, he noticed that the lighthouse's light was not harsh or glaring, but soft, like a glowing pearl, pulsing gently with the rhythm of the waves. Small lanterns floated in the surrounding waters, drifting in circles, casting delicate reflections on the rippling surface. The air smelled faintly of salt, seaweed, and old wood, a comforting mixture that seemed to make time slow. Climbing the spiral stairs of the lighthouse, the historian discovered rooms filled with curious objects, telescopes that reflected distant memories, shelves of bottles containing tiny glowing orbs, each humming faintly. He picked up one orb, and within it he saw a memory of a family waving goodbye from a pier, a fisherman untangling nets at sunrise, and a small child watching the tides roll in for the first time. The orbs were alive with gentle stories, small but complete worlds captured in delicate light. Reaching the top, the historian stepped onto the balcony and gazed at the endless horizon. The waves whispered softly below, carrying echoes of every story he had witnessed that night. The lighthouse itself seemed to breathe, its glow expanding and contracting in time with the waves, as though it were keeping rhythm with the world. He sat quietly listening to the faint hum of the orbs, watching the lanterns drift on the waves, and feeling the vast calm of the sea surround him. Here, he realized, every life, every quiet moment, and every small act of kindness was preserved, not in grand monuments, but in the soft, whispering light that guided the world through darkness. As dawn approached, the historian descended the stairs, leaving the lighthouse glowing softly against the morning sky. He drifted away in his boat, carrying a gentle awareness that even the faintest whispers of life could leave a lasting mark if one only paused long enough to notice them. The Valley of Singing Trees. The historian sailed quietly past the last hints of the lighthouse, following a soft morning mist that clung to the sea. The air was calm, carrying the scent of wildflowers and salt, and the water reflected the pale sky like a mirror. As he rounded a curve in the coastline, he glimpsed a valley hidden between two misty cliffs. From afar it seemed ordinary, but a faint harmonious hum drew him closer, a sound that was neither wind nor bird, yet both soft and melodic. As he entered the valley, he discovered the trees themselves were singing. Their leaves shimmered with tiny points of light, and the branches swayed in perfect rhythm, producing gentle harmonic tones. Each note felt like a story, a memory expressed in sound. the quiet laughter of children, the slow steps of a traveler on a cobblestone street, the soft sigh of the ocean waves. The historian walked slowly along a narrow path that wound through the valley. The moss under his feet was soft and springy, and small glowing flowers peeked out between the roots of the singing trees. Birds with translucent wings flitted from branch to branch, harmonizing with the trees' melodies, their faint song blending seamlessly with the ambient hum. In the center of the valley lay a small pond, perfectly still, reflecting the luminescent trees and sky above. He knelt at the edge, and the water shimmered, revealing tiny moving memories within its surface: a baker kneading dough at dawn, a child floating a paper boat on a quiet river, a sailor watching the sun set over calm waters. Each ripple carried a faint whisper of these moments, soft as a lullaby. Hours passed unnoticed. The valley's gentle songs wrapped around the historian, and time seemed to stretch and bend, as though every note was a heartbeat. When night finally fell, the glowing trees cast soft shadows on the path, and the singing became even quieter, like a lullaby just for him. As he left the valley, stepping back onto his small boat, he carried the melodies in his mind, the knowledge that stories and memories were not only told with words, but could also be felt in sound, rhythm, and light. And as the mist embraced him once more, he drifted gently toward the horizon, the soft hum of the valley of singing trees echoing faintly behind him. The floating market of forgotten dreams. After leaving the valley of singing trees, the historian drifted on calm, silver-tinted waters, guided by the faint glimmer of lanterns that appeared on the horizon. As he approached, the fog parted, revealing an island unlike any other, a floating market suspended in the gentle embrace of mist and moonlight, where the stalls themselves seemed to hover above the water, connected by narrow wooden planks that swayed softly with the waves. The air was filled with a quiet, magical hum. Merchants were invisible, yet their wares moved gently as if touched by unseen hands. Glowing jars that contained fleeting dreams, delicate lanterns that pulsed like tiny hearts, floating books with blank pages that shimmered with possibility, and textiles that rippled like water in the moonlight. Each item seemed to whisper, inviting the historian to linger, to touch, and to remember. He wandered slowly along the planks, brushing his fingers lightly over the floating objects. When he touched a jar of dreams, he saw a memory inside. A child tossing pebbles into a quiet river, a couple sharing a soft laugh beneath a willow, an old man quietly reading by candlelight. Every moment was delicate, precious, and fleeting, frozen in the gentle magic of the market. Time seemed to flow differently here. Lanterns drifted lazily above the water, reflecting in the calm waves, while the historian moved from stall to stall, exploring the silent, moving stories. Occasionally, a faint melody played from nowhere, soft and comforting, like a lullaby carried on the mist. As the night deepened, the historian reached the far end of the market, where a small boat awaited him to carry him back into open waters. He paused, watching the floating wares shimmer in the moonlight, realizing that the market existed not for trade, but for memory, to preserve moments that might otherwise be forgotten. With a final glance, he stepped into his boat, leaving the floating market of forgotten dreams behind. The lanterns drifted gently with the waves, their soft glow fading into the mist, and the historian drifted onward, carrying the quiet, luminous memories with him as the gentle sea guided him toward the next adventure. The Mirror Lake of Silent Reflections. The historian rode quietly through early morning mist, leaving the flowing market of forgotten dreams behind. The sea was calm, and the first rays of sunlight shimmered faintly on the water, painting silver paths that seemed to guide him toward a hidden place. Soon, he glimpsed the outline of an island, and in its center lay a vast, perfectly still lake. The water was so smooth it mirrored the sky and the distant trees like polished glass, without a single ripple to disturb the surface. As he stepped onto the soft moss at the lake's edge, he realized that the water reflected more than the present. It reflected memories, emotions, and moments of lives long past. A gentle breeze moved across the surface, and faint images appeared. A child playing with a small wooden boat, an old man feeding birds at dawn, a couple walking hand in hand under a silver moon. Every moment seemed alive, faint whispers of laughter or sighs drifting up from the mirrored surface. The historian walked slowly along the water's edge. Mist curled around his feet, and the trees lining the lake shimmered with delicate silver light. Occasionally, a ripple would travel across the lake, and the reflected memories would shift, showing another quiet moment from a distant life. He knelt and touched the water gently. For a moment, the reflections danced like tiny glowing orbs, each one a story preserved in stillness. Hours passed quietly. The lake seemed to breathe with the world, and the historian felt an unspoken calm settle into his chest. He realized that some places existed not to be seen or touched, but to remind those who wandered that every quiet moment, the small acts, the whispered words, the soft laughter, had meaning. As twilight approached, the lake's surface became a soft mirror of pastel sky, reflecting the first stars of the night. The historian finally stepped back, carrying the quiet serenity of the mirror lake of silent reflections with him. He rode slowly into the mist, feeling that even in silence, the world was alive with stories waiting to be remembered. The Canyon of Whispering Winds. The historian's small boat drifted away from the mirror lake of silent reflections, carried by a soft current that seemed almost alive. Beyond the horizon, jagged cliffs emerged from the mist, forming the entrance to a narrow canyon. From within it came a gentle, constant sound, a soft whispering like 1,000 voices carried on the wind. As he stepped onto the rocky shore, he noticed that the canyon was filled with tall stone spires, each etched with tiny patterns and runes that shimmered faintly in the dim light. The wind moved through the narrow gaps between the cliffs, producing a soft, harmonious chorus, a language that was not meant to be understood, but simply felt. Walking slowly along the canyon floor, the historian felt the wind brushing against his cheeks, carrying faint echoes of countless lives. Children chasing leaves, travelers resting beside quiet fires, lovers whispering promises beneath starlit skies. Every gust seemed to carry another delicate story, a memory shaped by time and wind. Along the path, small glowing flowers had rooted themselves in crevices of the canyon walls. Their petals swayed in the whispering currents, producing a soft, harmonic light. Birds with transparent wings glided through the canyon, their faint songs blending seamlessly with the natural hum of the wind. Hours passed unnoticed. The canyon seemed alive, breathing with the stories of the world. The historian paused often, listening to the subtle melodies, feeling the stories brush past him, gentle and ephemeral. He realized that some places exist not to be seen or touched, but to be felt, to remind those who wandered that every soft moment, the small acts, the whispered words, the soft laughter, had meaning. As twilight approached, the canyon's edges glowed faintly with bioluminescent moss, and the whispering winds softened into a gentle lullaby. The historian stepped back onto his boat, carrying the quiet songs of the canyon with him, drifting toward the next hidden corner of the world where another story awaited, calm and patient like the wind itself. He was approaching another magical place, the island of endless lantern festivals. The island glowed softly with countless lanterns drifting above and along the shores. Each lantern carried a tiny memory, a whispered story, a gentle hope. They floated silently in the air, bobbing on the water and even swaying in the trees. The historian stepped onto the shore, feeling the soft sand under his feet, and noticed that every lantern's glow pulsed in a calm rhythm, like the heartbeat of the island itself. Wandering slowly among the lanterns, he discovered small bridges connecting sections of the island, each lined with lanterns of different colors, soft golds, gentle blues, and pale pinks. Touching one, he glimpsed a memory, a child releasing a paper lantern into the sky, a family gathering quietly around a fire, a musician strumming softly under the moonlight. Every moment was simple, delicate, yet deeply moving. The historian paused near a small pond where lanterns floated gently on the water's surface, reflecting the starry sky above. Fireflies danced among the glowing lights, harmonizing with the soft hum of distant music carried by the night air. Time here seemed to slow, stretching each quiet moment into eternity. Hours passed without notice. The historian walked slowly along the lantern-lit paths, letting the soft glow wash over him, each memory filling him with a quiet sense of peace. Eventually, as the first hints of dawn painted the sky, he stepped back into his boat, carrying the calm and gentle magic of the island of endless lantern festivals with him. The lanterns continued to glow softly, bobbing like stars upon the waves, waiting for the next wanderer to discover them. The Valley of Floating Lantern Lakes. After leaving the island of endless lantern festivals, the historian drifted quietly through a calm, misty morning. In the distance, he saw the faint glow of lakes that shimmered like mirrors, dotted with hundreds of softly floating lanterns. He realized he had arrived at the Valley of Floating Lantern Lakes, a place where the water itself carried stories, light, and quiet magic. Stepping carefully along the grassy shore, the historian noticed that each lantern on the water contained a tiny memory: a child skipping stones across a pond, a quiet fisherman untangling nets, lovers holding hands beneath the soft glow of moonlight. The lanterns gently bobbed in rhythm with the water, casting reflections that seemed to stretch endlessly across the calm surface. Wandering between the lakes, he found small wooden bridges, barely wide enough for a single person, lined with lanterns glowing in soft gold and pale blue. Fireflies danced among the lanterns, weaving trails of light that mirrored the stars above. The historian paused often, letting the quiet hum of water, lanterns, and fireflies wash over him, feeling each memory brush softly against his senses. Some lanterns floated near small islands in the lakes, each covered with soft moss and delicate flowers. The flowers reflected the lantern light, creating tiny glowing gardens where the past and present seemed to coexist. Every step he took, every ripple in the water, revealed another story, another gentle moment captured in stillness. Hours passed as the historian wandered slowly through the valley. When twilight arrived, the floating lanterns glowed brighter, reflecting in the glassy lakes like countless stars fallen to the earth. He stepped back into his boat, carrying the gentle serenity and quiet magic of the valley of floating lantern lakes with him, drifting onward, guided by the soft glimmer of lanterns fading into the distance. The cloud bridge to the hidden peaks. After leaving the valley of floating lantern lakes, the historian drifted through soft morning mist toward distant mountains whose peaks were lost in clouds. As he approached, he discovered a bridge stretching across the sky itself, made of drifting clouds and faint glimmering light. Each step upon the bridge felt weightless, as if he were walking upon the very air. The bridge led to a hidden range of peaks, each crowned with small gardens, glowing flowers, and tiny lanterns that floated in the mist. The air smelled faintly of mountain dew, soft wildflowers, and distant pine, and every gust of wind carried quiet whispers of past travelers who had walked this bridge before him. The historian walked slowly, pausing to observe glowing flowers growing along the cloud edges and small translucent birds that flitted through the mist, leaving faint trails of shimmering light. Each step brought him to a higher vantage point, where he could see other cloud bridges arcing toward distant hidden islands and peaks, all softly glowing in the diffused sunlight. As he continued, the bridge occasionally swayed gently, and the clouds shifted around him, revealing faint memories captured within the mist. A child climbing a hill at dawn, a fisherman watching the first light reflect on calm waters, a quiet musician playing for no one but the wind. Every step felt serene, as if the bridge itself were guiding him through a meditative journey across time and memory. Hours passed unnoticed. The sun began to dip behind distant peaks, casting long shadows across the cloud bridges. Lanterns and glowing flowers reflected in soft pools of mist, and the historian paused to absorb the peaceful glow. Finally, he stepped onto a small cloud landing at the hidden peaks, carrying the gentle calm of the journey with him as he prepared to drift onward to the next quiet, magical place. The hidden library of floating tomes. After leaving the cloud bridge to the hidden peaks, the historian drifted toward a quiet plateau where the mist clung gently to the ground. There, rising softly from the haze, was a library unlike he had ever seen. Its walls seemed to float above the earth, held together by faint currents of glowing light. Endless tomes hovered in mid-air, their pages rustling softly as if turning themselves, filling the air with the faint scent of old paper and gentle candle wax. Stepping inside, the historian noticed that the books were not ordinary. They contained memories, moments frozen in time. Touching one, he saw a child drawing in the sand at the edge of a quiet pond. Another held the faint laughter of sailors on a misty morning. Yet another glowed softly with a scholar carefully writing by candlelight. Each book floated in place, pulsing faintly with a life of its own. The interior was quiet and vast. Spiral staircases led to higher shelves, where ancient tomes shimmered faintly, and narrow walkways curved gracefully around endless stacks. Floating lanterns drifted gently between the shelves, illuminating the historian's slow movements. As he walked, whispers of the stories inside the books seemed to brush past him like soft wind, carrying fragments of laughter, sighs, and quiet moments. Hours passed unnoticed. The historian paused often, letting the calm of the library wash over him, tracing the edges of floating books and absorbing the gentle stories they held. Time seemed to stretch and slow here, each moment suspended in soft luminescence, perfect for quiet reflection. As night fell, the floating tomes glowed brighter, and the soft rustling of pages filled the library with a gentle symphony. The historian stepped back toward the library's entrance, carrying the serene knowledge of the floating tomes with him. he drifted into the mist once again, guided by the quiet magic of this timeless sanctuary, ready for the next hidden wonder that awaited him. The distant sigh of wind through trees. Hours passed unnoticed as the historian wandered slowly, absorbing the peaceful magic of the Valley of Lantern Rivers, feeling every story brush softly against his senses. As twilight deepened, the rivers glowed even more brightly, and the reflections of lanterns on water created a sea of soft, calming light. The historian stepped back into his boat, carrying the serene, gentle glow of the valley with him, drifting onward through the mist toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where yet another quiet story awaited. The moonlit gardens of floating blossoms. After leaving the Valley of Lantern Rivers, the historian drifted quietly under a deep indigo sky. In the distance, he glimpsed a series of gardens floating above the water, bathed in soft moonlight. Each garden was suspended gently on delicate platforms made of mist and light, and countless blossoms glowed faintly, drifting slowly in the air around them. Stepping carefully onto one of the floating platforms, the historian noticed that the flowers seemed to pulse with quiet memories, a child tracing patterns in the sand, a musician plucking strings under a starlit sky, a quiet couple walking hand in hand through a garden at dusk. Each blossom shimmered gently, casting soft reflections on the water below, as if each memory were softly lighting the world. The gardens were alive with gentle motion. Translucent butterflies flitted slowly among the blossoms, their wings leaving faint trails of luminescence. The air was filled with the faint hum of the flowers and the soft ripple of water beneath the floating platforms. Each step the historian took was deliberate and slow, letting the tranquil environment wrap around him like a gentle lullaby. Hours passed as he wandered carefully from garden to garden. He paused often, letting the soft glow of blossoms wash over him, feeling the quiet calm of each suspended memory. Every moment in the moonlit gardens felt timeless, a gentle meditation on the beauty of small, serene experiences. As dawn approached, the floating gardens glimmered faintly in the first soft light, and the historian stepped back onto his small boat. He carried with him the gentle serenity of the moonlit gardens of floating blossoms, drifting once more through mist toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more soft, patient stories awaited. The twilight bridge of silent reflections. After leaving the moonlit gardens of floating blossoms, the historian drifted quietly across calm, mirror-like waters. Ahead, he glimpsed a bridge stretching through the mist, its surface smooth and glowing faintly with soft twilight hues. This was the Twilight Bridge of Silent Reflections, a place where every step seemed to echo not through sound, but through gentle memories shimmering beneath the surface. Stepping slowly onto the bridge, he noticed that the water below reflected not only the sky, but also faint scenes from lives long past: a child releasing a paper boat into a quiet river, a fisherman watching the dawn light over calm waters, a couple sharing a soft laugh beneath the moon. Each reflection shimmered gently, as if breathing softly along with him. The bridge itself was lined with small lanterns, their glow pulsing in harmony with the water's subtle ripples. Translucent birds glided along the rails, leaving soft trails of light in their wake. The historian walked slowly, letting the calm rhythm of the bridge, the reflections, and the soft glow of lanterns envelop him like a gentle lullaby. Hours passed unnoticed. Every step revealed another delicate memory, each more soothing than the last. He paused often, letting the soft glow of blossoms wash over him, feeling the quiet calm of the bridge wrap around him, and noticing the harmony of light, water, and sky blending seamlessly. As night deepened, the lanterns glowed brighter, and the water mirrored the twilight sky in perfect calm. The historian finally stepped back into his small boat, carrying the quiet serenity of the twilight bridge of silent reflections with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more soft, patient stories awaited. The Valley of Misty Lantern Peaks. After leaving the twilight bridge of silent reflections, the historian drifted quietly through a soft morning mist, approaching a range of distant mountains. Rising from the fog were the misty lantern peaks, towering cliffs dotted with softly glowing lanterns that floated in the air like gentle stars. He stepped carefully along a narrow path winding up the mountain slopes, each step cushioned by moss and soft earth. The lanterns pulsed gently, illuminating hidden corners of the cliffs, small groves of delicate flowers, and tiny streams glimmering with reflected light. Each lantern seemed to hold a memory, a child quietly chasing fireflies, a traveler resting under a soft canopy of trees, a quiet musician strumming under moonlight. Each blossom shimmered gently, casting soft reflections on the water below, as if each memory were softly lighting the world. As dawn approached, the floating gardens glimmered faintly in the first soft light, and the historian stepped back onto his small boat. He carried with him the gentle serenity of the misty lantern peaks of floating blossoms, drifting once more through mist toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more soft, patient stories awaited. The silent marsh of glimmering reeds. After leaving the valley of misty lantern peaks, the historian drifted quietly into a low-lying area where soft mist clung to the earth. Here lay the silent marsh of glimmering reeds, a vast expanse of still water dotted with reeds that glowed faintly in the dim light, casting long, shimmering reflections across the marsh. Stepping onto a narrow wooden boardwalk, he moved slowly, noticing the gentle sway of the glowing reeds and the occasional ripple of the water as small creatures moved quietly beneath the surface. Each reed seemed to contain a faint memory, a child watching dragonflies dance, a quiet fisherman listening to the morning birds, travelers sharing a quiet moment beside a distant fire. The marsh was filled with soft, soothing sounds, the gentle hum of water moving through reeds, the faint rustle of leaves in the mist, and the occasional whisper of wind brushing across the surface. Fireflies flitted lazily above the water, leaving trails of soft light that mingled with the reflections of the glowing reeds. Hours passed unnoticed as the historian wandered slowly along the boardwalk, pausing to watch each glowing reed, letting the serene environment fill him with quiet calm. Every ripple, every glow, and every subtle sound felt like a gentle lullaby, wrapping him in the soft magic of the marsh. As twilight deepened, the reeds glimmered brighter, reflecting the pastel colors of the fading sky. The historian stepped carefully back onto his small boat, carrying the gentle serenity of the silent marsh of glimmering reeds with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more soft, patient stories awaited. The Valley of Silver Petal Streams. After leaving the silent marsh of glimmering reeds, the historian drifted quietly along a winding river that sparkled with soft silver light. The river led him into a hidden valley where streams flowed like ribbons of liquid moonlight and delicate petals floated atop the water, glowing faintly with their own gentle radiance. Stepping carefully onto the soft riverbank, he noticed that each silver petal seemed to carry a memory. A child tracing patterns in the sand, a quiet couple walking beneath flowering trees, a fisherman casting his nets at dawn. The petals drifted slowly downstream, reflecting the surrounding cliffs, lush foliage, and pastel sky, creating an endless tapestry of soft, calming light. The valley was alive with quiet motion. Translucent dragonflies skimmed the water's surface, leaving trails of faint luminescence, and soft breezes rustled the trees and petals in a gentle rhythm. The historian walked slowly, pausing often to watch petals float by, listening to the soft hum of flowing water and faint whispers of the past. Hours passed unnoticed as he wandered along the streams. Every step and every ripple of water seemed to stretch time, creating a serene, meditative atmosphere. The silver petals shimmered brighter as twilight approached, reflecting the soft glow of the setting sun. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the quiet serenity of the valley of silver petal streams with him. The river's gentle glow continued to light his path, guiding him onward toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more patient and gentle stories awaited. The glowing canyon of quiet streams. After leaving the valley of silver petal streams, the historian drifted quietly toward a narrow canyon, its high cliffs softly illuminated by the gentle glow of bioluminescent moss and tiny crystal pools. This was the glowing canyon of quiet streams, where water trickled slowly over smooth stones, carrying light and gentle whispers from hidden places. Stepping onto the soft, moss-covered path along the canyon floor, he noticed small streams branching out like silver ribbons, reflecting the faint glow of the moss and crystals above. Each glimmering stream seemed to hold a memory: a child playing quietly near a riverbank, a quiet couple walking beneath flowering trees, a solitary fisherman casting his nets in early morning mist. The canyon was alive with subtle motion. Small translucent insects hovered above the streams, leaving faint trails of light, while the faint rustle of leaves and gentle trickle of water created a soothing melody. The historian moved slowly, pausing often to watch reflections ripple across the streams, letting the soft, glowing ambiance wash over him. Hours passed unnoticed in quiet stillness. Every pool, every moss-covered rock, every subtle reflection seemed to stretch time, creating a meditative, relaxing atmosphere. As twilight arrived, the canyon glowed brighter, the moss and crystals catching the fading sunlight and reflecting it in soft, calming patterns. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the gentle serenity of the glowing canyon of quiet streams with him. The soft mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more patient and soothing stories awaited. The floating meadow of mist and light. After leaving the glowing canyon of quiet streams, the historian drifted gently toward a vast open plain that seemed to float above the earth, shrouded in soft morning mist. This was the floating meadow of mist and light, where patches of grass and wildflowers hovered gently in the air, glowing faintly and swaying as if carried by a slow, invisible breeze. Stepping carefully along the floating paths, the historian noticed that each glowing patch of flowers contained delicate memories: a child chasing butterflies, a quiet couple resting beneath flowering trees, a lone musician strumming a soft tune as sunlight reflected on dewdrops. Each memory pulsed faintly like a heartbeat, blending seamlessly with the gentle mist and warm glow of the meadow. As motion in the air was alive with soft movement, translucent dragonflies and tiny glowing insects hovered among the flowers, leaving faint trails of light. A gentle breeze carried the soft hum of grass and petals brushing together, creating a soothing, almost musical rhythm. The historian moved slowly, pausing often to watch the subtle play of light and mist, letting the calm of the meadow envelop him. Hours passed unnoticed, each floating patch of flowers, each glowing memory, and each soft ripple of mist seemed to stretch time, creating a meditative, relaxing atmosphere. As twilight approached, the meadow glowed more softly, reflecting the pale hues of the evening sky. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the serene magic of the floating meadow of mist and light with him. The mist embraced him once again, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more patient and soothing stories awaited. The shimmering cliffs of evening mist. After leaving the floating meadow of mist and light, the historian drifted quietly toward distant cliffs that rose steeply from calm waters. The cliffs shimmered faintly in the evening mist, their jagged edges softened by layers of fog and glinting crystal veins that caught the fading light. He stepped carefully along a narrow, winding path carved into the cliffs, each step cushioned by soft moss and stones worn smooth over time. Tiny lanterns floated among the rocks, casting gentle reflections across the mist and illuminating hidden alcoves where delicate flowers and ferns grew. Each lantern seemed to hold a memory, children playing laughing as they climbed rocks, travelers pausing to watch the sunset, or a lone musician strumming under the fading sky. The cliffs were alive with subtle motion. Small translucent insects hovered slowly among the fog, leaving faint trails of light. Soft wind whispered through the crevices, carrying distant echoes of laughter and quiet conversations. The historian moved slowly, pausing often to breathe in the serenity, letting the gentle shimmer of the cliffs wash over him like a quiet lullaby. Hours passed unnoticed. Every lantern, every glowing crystal, and every swaying fern stretched time into a meditative rhythm. As twilight deepened, the cliffs glimmered softly, reflecting the pastel hues of the evening sky. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the calm, shimmering serenity of the shimmering cliffs of evening mist with him. The mist embraced him once again, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more patient and soothing stories awaited. The hidden lagoon of twilight reflections. After leaving the shimmering cliffs of evening mist, the historian drifted quietly through soft, silver-tinted waters. Ahead, a hidden lagoon appeared, surrounded by smooth stones and softly glowing plants. This was the hidden lagoon of twilight reflections, where the water mirrored the sky and every gentle ripple carried faint stories through long ago. Stepping carefully onto the soft, mossy shore, he noticed that each glowing plant and stone seemed to contain a memory. Children quietly skipping stones, travelers resting beside a gentle fire, and small boats drifting peacefully under a soft twilight sky. The lagoon's calm surface reflected the surrounding cliffs, lanterns, and distant stars, creating a seamless dance of light and shadow. The air was filled with gentle sounds, the soft lap of water against stones, the faint rustle of leaves, and the quiet hum of glowing plants. Fireflies drifted lazily above the water, leaving faint shimmering trails in the soft light. The historian moved slowly, pausing often to watch reflections ripple across the lagoon, letting the gentle magic wash over him. Hours passed unnoticed. Each glowing plant, every ripple, and subtle whisper of water seemed to stretch time, creating a meditative, relaxing rhythm that soothed the mind. As twilight deepened, the lagoon glowed more softly, reflecting pastel hues of the evening sky and the faint shimmer of distant stars. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the serene calm of the hidden lagoon of twilight reflections with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him quietly toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more soft and gentle stories awaited. The serene harbor of lantern boats. After leaving the hidden lagoon of twilight reflections, the historian drifted quietly through soft morning mist, guided by faint glimmers of light ahead. He soon arrived at the serene harbor of lantern boats, where countless small vessels rested gently on calm water, each softly illuminated by glowing lanterns that floated above and around them. Stepping onto a narrow wooden dock, he moved slowly among the boats. The water mirrored the lanterns and the soft pastel sky, creating a seamless, tranquil glow that seemed to stretch endlessly. Each boat carried faint memories, fishermen quietly mending their nets, children watching the sunrise from the shore, travelers pausing for a moment of calm. Touching a boat's railing, he could feel the quiet warmth of the stories it held. The harbor was alive with subtle, soothing motion. The boat swayed gently, lanterns bobbed in rhythm with the water, and translucent insects drifted among the lights, leaving faint trails of luminescence. The soft lap of water against the docks and the gentle rustle of leaves added a natural melody that complemented the glowing scene. Hours passed in quiet stillness. The historian paused often, letting the calm of the harbor wash over him, tracing lantern reflections across the water and feeling the gentle stories of the boats settle softly in his mind. As twilight deepened, the lanterns glowed more softly, reflecting long, soft reflections on the water and the gentle curves of the land. Finally, he stepped back into his small boat, carrying the peaceful serenity of the serene harbor of lantern boats with him. The mist embraced him once again, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world where yet another gentle story patiently awaited. The Enchanted Grove of Whispering Lights. After leaving the serene harbor of lantern boats, the historian drifted quietly into a dense, secluded grove. The Enchanted Grove of Whispering Lights was alive with subtle luminescence. Tiny floating lights hovered among the trees, casting delicate shadows across the soft moss and winding pathways. Stepping carefully onto the forest floor, he noticed that each floating light seemed to carry a memory. A child listening to the wind, travelers resting beside a small fire, or a quiet scholar reading under the canopy of ancient trees. The lights pulsed gently, creating a rhythmic glow that harmonized with the soft whispers of the grove. The grove was alive with gentle motion. Small translucent birds and glowing insects flitted among the lights, leaving faint trails of shimmering luminescence. The soft lap of water against the forest floor and the gentle rustle of leaves added a natural melody that complemented the glowing scene. Hours passed in calm stillness. Every floating light, every soft whisper, and every subtle movement seemed to stretch time, creating a meditative, relaxing rhythm. As twilight deepened, the lights glowed more brightly, illuminating hidden corners and delicate flowers, reflecting softly in puddles along the mossy paths. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the quiet serenity of the enchanted grove of whispering lights with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world where more soft and gentle stories awaited. The twilight glade of floating lanterns. After leaving the enchanted grove of whispering lights, the historian drifted quietly toward a wide glade bathed in soft twilight. The twilight glade of floating lanterns stretched before him, a tranquil meadow where hundreds of lanterns hovered gently above the grass, casting delicate, warm light across the glade. Stepping slowly onto the soft earth, he noticed that each lantern seemed to carry a gentle memory. A child watching fireflies dance among trees, a quiet couple walking beneath flowering trees, travelers resting beside a small glowing campfire. The lanterns pulsed softly, harmonizing with the subtle hum of the evening wind, creating a calming rhythm that seemed to stretch time itself. The glade was alive with gentle motion. Translucent dragonflies flitted lazily among the lanterns, leaving faint trails of shimmering luminescence. The soft lap of water against the glade and the gentle rustle of leaves added a natural melody that complemented the glowing scene. Hours passed in calm stillness. Every floating light, every subtle reflection, and the soft glow of the meadow seemed to deepen the sense of serenity. As twilight faded into night, the lanterns glowed more brightly, reflecting in small puddles along the glade and across the gentle curves of the land. Finally, he stepped back into his small boat, carrying the peaceful magic of the twilight glade of floating lanterns with him. The mist embraced him once again, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world where yet another gentle story patiently awaited. The Crystal Meadow of Morning Dew. After leaving the twilight glade of floating lanterns, the historian drifted quietly toward a wide, open meadow that sparkled softly in the early morning light. This was the Crystal Meadow of Morning Dew, where every blade of grass and delicate flower glimmered as if dusted with tiny crystals, reflecting faint rainbows across the soft mist that hovered above the ground. Stepping carefully onto the soft earth, he noticed that each crystal-laden flower or dew-covered blade seemed to carry a gentle memory. A child quietly watching the sunrise, a traveler pausing beside a calm stream, or a musician strumming softly under the first light of day. The glimmering crystals pulsed faintly, creating a quiet rhythm that harmonized with the soft hum of the meadow. The meadow was alive with subtle motion. Tiny, translucent insects hovered among the flowers, leaving delicate trails of light, while soft breezes rustled the grass and petals in a gentle, soothing melody. The historian moved slowly, pausing often to observe reflections in dewdrops, letting the serene beauty of the meadow wash over him completely. Hours passed in quiet stillness. Each sparkling dewdrop, every gentle glowing leaf, and each subtle whisper of wind seemed to stretch time, creating a meditative, relaxing atmosphere. As morning light grew stronger, the meadow glimmered with warm, soft colors, reflecting the calm and gentle beauty of the day's first moments. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the quiet serenity of the Crystal Meadow of Morning Dew with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more soft and patient stories awaited. The Misty Orchard of Floating Fruit. After leaving the Crystal Meadow of Morning Dew, the historian drifted quietly toward a gentle valley where soft mist clung to the trees. This was the Misty Orchard of Floating Fruit, where branches were heavy with glowing, levitating fruits that pulsed faintly with the soft, warm light. Stepping carefully along the mossy pathways, he noticed that each floating fruit seemed to hold a quiet memory. A child plucking an apple at dawn, a traveler resting beneath a fruit-laden branch, or a gardener tending a hidden grove. The fruits swayed slowly, responding to the subtle rhythm of the mist and wind, creating a gentle, calming motion that seemed to stretch time. The orchard was alive with soft, soothing sounds. Leaves rustled in the gentle breeze. Small glowing insects drifted among the trees, leaving delicate trails of light, and the faint hum of the mist filled the air. The historian moved slowly, pausing often to observe the interplay of light, shadow, and memory, letting the orchard's serene magic wash over him completely. Hours passed unnoticed. Every floating fruit, every softly glowing leaf, and each subtle whisper of wind seemed to weave a meditative rhythm. As twilight approached, the orchard glowed brighter, reflecting pastel shades of the sky and creating a calm, dreamlike ambiance. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the gentle serenity of the misty orchard of floating fruit with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more patient and soothing stories awaited. The silent river of glowing lilies. After leaving the misty orchard of floating fruit, the historian drifted quietly toward a narrow, winding river that shimmered softly in the fading light. This was the silent river of glowing lilies, where clusters of luminous water lilies floated gently on the calm surface, their soft light reflecting in the still, dark water. Stepping carefully onto a small wooden dock at the river's edge, he noticed that each glowing lily seemed to carry a quiet memory. A child watching dragonflies skim the water, a traveler pausing beside the river to rest, or a lone musician plucking gentle strings under the moonlight. The lilies drifted slowly, their reflections rippling softly, creating a tranquil, hypnotic rhythm that seemed to stretch time. The river was alive with subtle motion. Small, translucent fish glided beneath the lilies, leaving faint trails of light, while a gentle breeze rustled the surrounding reeds, producing a soft, natural melody. The historian moved slowly, pausing often to observe the interplay of light, shadow, and memory, letting the river's serene calm wash over him completely. Hours passed unnoticed. Each floating lily, every faint ripple, and every soft glow seemed to deepen the sense of serenity. As twilight deepened, the river glimmered even more, reflecting the warm colors of the sky and the soft luminescence of the lilies. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the gentle magic of the silent river of glowing lilies with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more soft and patient stories awaited. The mist-laden canyon of whispering waters. After leaving the silent river of glowing lilies, the historian drifted quietly into a deep canyon shrouded in soft, rolling mist. This was the mist-laden canyon of whispering waters, where small streams trickled down jagged rocks and gentle waterfalls whispered secrets into the calm pools below. Stepping carefully along a narrow, moss-covered path, he noticed that each tiny pool and stream seemed to carry quiet memories. A child exploring hidden nooks, travelers pausing to rest by a waterfall, or a solitary musician plucking gentle strings under the sound of trickling water. The water glimmered faintly, reflecting the mist and surrounding cliffs, creating a soothing, hypnotic rhythm. The canyon was alive with subtle motion. Translucent dragonflies and tiny glowing insects hovered near the streams, leaving delicate trails of luminescence, while a gentle breeze rustled the surrounding leaves, producing a soft, natural melody. The historian moved slowly, pausing often to observe the interplay of light, shadow, and memory, letting the canyon's serene magic wash over him completely. Hours passed unnoticed. Each waterfall, every faint ripple, and each subtle whisper of water seemed to stretch time, creating a meditative, relaxing atmosphere. As twilight deepened, the mist glowed faintly, reflecting pastel hues of the sky and enhancing the tranquil magic of the canyon. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the gentle magic of the mist-laden canyon of whispering waters with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more soft and patient stories awaited. The Lantern Lake of Silent Dreams. After leaving the mist-laden canyon of whispering waters, the historian drifted quietly toward a vast, tranquil lake blanketed in soft mist. This was the Lantern Lake of Silent Dreams, where countless small lanterns floated gently on the calm water, each glowing faintly and drifting slowly as if carrying the dreams of those who had passed by. Stepping carefully onto a narrow wooden pier, he noticed that each lantern seemed to hold a memory. Children releasing lanterns at dusk, travelers pausing to rest, a quiet musician playing soft tunes as the water reflected the sky. The lantern's glow shimmered in the still water, creating delicate reflections that seemed to stretch endlessly. The lake was alive with subtle motion. Tiny, translucent fish swam beneath the lanterns, leaving faint trails of luminescence, while gentle ripples formed with the softest touch of the evening breeze. The historian moved slowly along the pier, pausing often to observe the glow and listen to the quiet hum of the water, letting the serenity of the lake settle within him. Hours passed in quiet stillness. Each floating lantern, every subtle ripple, and the faint hum of water seemed to lengthen time, creating a meditative, calming rhythm. As twilight deepened, the lanterns glowed brighter, casting long reflections on the water and filling the lake with a gentle, dreamlike magic. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the peaceful serenity of the lantern lake of silent dreams with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more gentle stories awaited. The moonlit archipelago of floating isles. After leaving the lantern lake of silent dreams, the historian drifted quietly toward a distant sea dotted with small, floating isles. This was the moonlit archipelago of floating isles, where each tiny island hovered just above the water, bathed in soft silver light and connected by delicate bridges of mist and moonbeams. Stepping carefully onto one of the floating isles, he noticed that each island seemed to hold a gentle memory. Children watching the moon rise over calm waters, travelers resting beneath softly glowing trees, or a solitary musician strumming a quiet tune under the stars. The islands pulsed faintly with a soft glow, creating the serene rhythm that harmonized with the gentle waves below. The archipelago was alive with subtle motion. Tiny, translucent birds flitted between the floating isles, leaving faint trails of light, while the soft ripple of water below and the whisper of wind above created a calming melody. The historian moved slowly along the bridges of mist, pausing often to observe reflections, soft glows, and the quiet magic of the moonlit scene. Hours passed in quiet stillness. Each glowing isle, every subtle reflection, and every gentle movement of mist seemed to stretch time, creating a meditative, relaxing atmosphere. As midnight approached, the islands glimmered brighter under the pale moonlight, and the soft glow of the archipelago filled the sky with gentle, dreamlike beauty. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the quiet serenity of the moonlit archipelago of floating isles with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more patient and soothing stories awaited. The starlit canyon of floating crystals. After leaving the moonlit archipelago of floating isles, the historian drifted quietly toward a deep canyon where the walls shimmered softly under the starlit sky. This was the starlit canyon of floating crystals, where countless small translucent crystals hovered in the air, reflecting faint starlight and casting delicate patterns across the canyon floor. Stepping carefully onto a narrow, moss-covered path along the canyon floor, he noticed that each floating crystal seemed to hold a memory. Children gazing at the stars, travelers resting beside calm pools, or a solitary musician plucking soft notes under the sky. The crystals pulsed gently, harmonizing with the whisper of the wind and the faint hum of distant streams, creating a tranquil rhythm that seemed to stretch time. The canyon was alive with subtle motion. Translucent birds and glowing insects flitted between the crystals, leaving faint trails of light, while small ripples in the pools mirrored the stars above. The historian moved slowly, pausing often to observe the soft reflections and delicate glows, letting the quiet magic of the canyon wash over him completely. Hours passed unnoticed. Each floating crystal, every subtle reflection, and every gentle movement of mist seemed to deepen the sense of serenity. As midnight deepened, the canyon shimmered even more brightly, reflecting the stars in intricate patterns that danced softly across the walls. Finally, the historian stepped back into his small boat, carrying the calm, gentle magic of the starlit canyon of floating crystals with him. The mist embraced him once more, guiding him toward the next hidden, tranquil corner of the world, where more soft and patient stories awaited. The eternal harbor of moonlit dreams. After leaving the starlit canyon of floating crystals, the historian drifted quietly toward a vast harbor, calm and endless under the gentle glow of the moon. This was the eternal harbor of moonlit dreams, where countless small boats rested softly on mirrored waters, each carrying faint glimmers of memories, stories, and quiet dreams. Stepping carefully onto a long wooden pier, he noticed that each boat and lantern seemed to hold a memory. Children releasing paper boats into a calm river, travelers pausing beneath glowing lanterns, a solitary musician strumming soft notes under the starlit sky. The gentle reflections rippled across the water, blending the moonlight, lanterns, and boats into a seamless, tranquil tapestry. The harbor was alive with subtle motion. Tiny translucent fish glided beneath the boats, leaving faint trails of light, while the soft breezes rustled lanterns and leaves in a soft, hypnotic melody. The historian moved slowly along the pier, pausing often to observe the calm and quiet magic surrounding him, letting the serenity seep into every sense. Hours passed unnoticed. Every lantern, every boat, and every soft ripple of the harbor seemed to stretch time, creating a deeply meditative, relaxing atmosphere. As the moon rose high, casting a silvery glow across the still waters, the historian finally stepped back into his own small boat, feeling the calm, eternal peace of the harbor settle around him. With the eternal harbor of moonlit dreams guiding him, he drifted quietly into the mist, carrying the soft, patient magic of the world he had explored. Every gentle story, every glowing memory, and every tranquil moment would now rest with him, whispering quietly as the night embraced the world in stillness and calm. Thank you for spending this peaceful moment with the Nightfall historian. Please like, subscribe, and comment.